Hello, my creative friends. Welcome to another video where I'm going to be showing you how to make a DIY affordable display stand for your market products. I have done one of these videos before where I showed you how I make my big foam core displays that I put art prints and greeting cards on for markets and events. And today I'm going to show you a little bit of a different project, a little bit smaller one, but still super cute and affordable. And it is for, well, this is it, basically. Let me show you. It is this like triangular shaped base with little slots that you can put products on. And I designed this specifically for, these are the backings for my pins that I'm going to be selling soon. So they are just like little cards, but you could use this for earrings or any other thing that basically comes on a little card. I think this turned out super great. I think it's just adorable. I built it in a way that it is collapsible, so I can take it apart because it is secured actually here with painter's tape rather than glue. I'll talk more about that during the tutorial. You could definitely glue it. It's just that I like things to be flat because I have a very tiny little car I need to put all my market stuff in. So I don't mind taking 30 seconds to put some new tape on to secure it. But this is a great way to prototype a display before you make one out of like wood or a harder material, or if you're just getting started and you don't have a big budget, or you can't simply find something specific enough for your table or display. This is the project for you. In terms of materials, it is going to be very straightforward and simple. We are using one sheet of foam core. This is a little scrap of foam core. It's basically paper, a little bit of foam, and then there's like paper on the bottom as well, and they're sandwiched together to make this sturdy composite material. I got mine at the dollar store. It is $4 Canadian a sheet. I've also seen recently you can get these at Michael's. I'm sure there are lots of office supply stores as well where you can get these sheets, but they're not very expensive. And my sheets are 20 inches by 30 inches. That's the size they sell them as. And so this project takes one. And I will show you briefly in a moment a diagram that I drew of this piece and how to cut. This actually piece is the leftover out of the big piece. So you have a little bit of extra to work with if you make a mistake. But if you're concerned, I mean, they're not, like I said, they're not very expensive. You could grab two if you want to have extra material in case you're not sure how it's going to work out, or you want to build two displays, or you want yours to be bigger than mine. So much options, so much options. Aside from the foam core, you just need some glue, some scissors, or I use an exacto knife and a cutting mat, and a big ruler, and that's it. Along with the painter's tape, of course. Little note, the foam core that I have is actually got like a whiteboard side. So there's like a glossy side and a matte side. You don't need that. That's just the foam core that I happen to buy. But it can be nice. I mean, you can write on it like a whiteboard if you wanted to. You could write the prices below items, I guess. You could try to do something like that. The downsides to using this as material is, number one, it does get banged up over time. It is just a paper and foam based product. However, the shelves that I built out of the same material, I used for over 6 months, once a week, transporting in my car without even the hot glue popping apart. And the only time it did get damaged, I just had to hot glue a seam again. So it was very durable considering how lightweight the materials are. This is also great if you're not very strong and you want a really light display. But the downside of it being really light is that the wind can take it away pretty easily. So if you are doing an outdoor show, I would just recommend getting something that you can clip onto it, or in the case of this one, you could just put something heavy in the inside to weigh it down. But if you're doing something even bigger, you may want to just factor in putting a book under there or something just to keep the wind from taking it. But you'd also, if you're doing little paper products like I do at an outside market, you've already been thinking about the wind problem. So anyways, I'll leave that up to you. We're just going to make the DIY today. This is also a project you can completely customize. I do mention this in the tutorial, but you can add washi tape over all the seams if you want to make it decorative. You could paint it. You could even use like contact paper, I guess, if you were really good with it to fit over the bumps to make it really seamless. Whatever you want. This is your project. I am just showing you the skeleton. You can put paint and flowers and meat on the bones if you want. All right, that's probably enough preamble. I was trying to figure out how to best do this tutorial after I did my last one where I was working with those big sheets of foam core and they were like flying all over the place in the video. So I'm actually going to cut out all the pieces ahead of time, but we're going to cut first to the diagram. I will show you what you need to cut, and then I will show you all the pieces I cut out. So hopefully that's super clear. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comments and I will answer them as best I can. Okay, sounds good. Let's make something cute. This is something cute. Let's make it. All right, you got voiceover Rebecca here. This is our overall diagram. I'm going to go through it all in a second, so don't worry, but you can take a screenshot of this if you want to work in the same dimensions I am. This is my roughly sketched plan. I made this in Procreate. I hope it's helpful. So first of all, let's zoom on what this is going to look like up close. This is the basic structure of the display unit. So I've used 3 different colors to indicate the different sections. The bright green colors, those are the pieces on the top of the display that are going to prop up your products. The red rectangle underneath is the overall rectangular base of the shelf. And then the 2 orange rectangles are the supports that go underneath, so that make up the other 2 sides of the triangle. In terms of measurements, here's what I did. I looked at the products that I wanted to display and based this off of the size of the card, which is, I think, 3 inches by 4 inches product card. So I wanted the gaps in between each of the boards to be a 1/2 inch. And I did all this in inches, just so you know. So at the very top, we have a 1 inch piece, then a 1/2 inch gap, then a 3.5 inch piece, 1/2 inch gap, 3.5 the gap, 3.5, and then at the bottom I have a 1/2 inch piece just as a base to rest it there. The reason that I did this is I wanted to make sure that there was enough space between all of my products that when you were standing in front of the display, they wouldn't be blocking each other. You would be able to see them perfectly all lined up. So that is why I built these measurements, but I think these are fairly universal for earring cards or pin backing cards. So you're welcome to use these exact ones. You could always make the 3.5 inch pieces narrower and add additional rows if you wanted to fit even more products on this exact measurement. But you can take this and extrapolate and make it whatever size you like, or just, you can freestyle it as well if you don't want to measure. Now here you can see all of the pieces that I cut out. So first of all, the orange rectangles on the left, which are the 2 bottom supports. One of them is 4 inches by 10 inches. The other one is 10 inches by 13 inches. And those are the sizes that work for this particular design. The red rectangle, the top front piece, is 10 inches by 14 inches. And then above the green sections, which are the different slats at the top, you can see all the measurements and the number of them there. And I did 2 of each because, as you'll see in the tutorial, I sandwiched them together to add some height to make sure that my cards lean the way I want them to. So you could also do 3 times, make them 3 times over if you want your display sections to be even higher. But this is the way I did it. So 2 of each of these green measurements. And then in the bottom right corner here, you can see this is the size of the foam core I was working with, 20 inches across and 30 inches down. And this is how I fit all of the pieces on to cut it out. So there's a little white rectangle in the corner of extra that you can use if you make a little mistake or want to add any extra pieces. But yeah, so I hope this is clear. This is the cutting instructions that I used. Like I said, if your foam core is a different size, you may want to do something differently, but these are the essential shapes of the pieces to make this unit. All right, so now we'll switch to the overhead view and I will show you how to do it. All right, this is going to be my workspace for this project. I put down my cutting mat just because I'm using whiteboards. I have a white table, and you may also want to use a cutting mat when you're doing the cuts for the foam core, but I've already done them. I'm just going to show you the pieces. The only other thing you're going to need aside from the big piece of foam core is a hot glue gun or another kind of glue, depends on what you want to use. Hot glue is real easy to use, but maybe not the most longevity. I'm just going to use this for our tutorial. And I just have a couple of glue sticks. I just get them at the dollar store. So I took the big sheet of foam core that was 20 inches by 30 inches and I cut it up into all of these pieces. So I'm just going to run through them real quick. You probably saw them in the pattern, but this is what I have cut up from that one single piece. So I have this one big board. This is going to be the top piece that sits at the angle with our product along it. So we have the one big piece. This sort of smaller rectangular piece is going to be the piece that holds it up. And then this one I helpfully labeled as the bottom is the piece that rests down. So it's going to go like that. And this one sits at an angle to make a triangle. Sorry, my camera's a little bit too close to show perfectly, but it makes a triangle like that. So that's what we're going to be going for our base and then attaching our little posts and ridges along here to make the product stand up. So I'm actually going to start by adding those little ridges onto the top piece first, and then we'll glue the whole thing together with the structure. So we're going to grab our little pieces first of all, and here they are. There is 2 of everything in this pile, so I'm just going to pair them up. And like I mentioned before, you can customize this to fit as many products as you like, whatever orientation you like. This is just how I'm doing it, so you can spin it off in whatever way you like. And I have 2 of everything just to add some height so that the products can kind of lean on these, but if you want to add even more, you could do a 3rd layer. It's totally up to you. Now the first step is I'm just going to be gluing all of these pieces together so that instead of 10 pieces, I have 5 pieces that are double the thickness. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead once the hot glue is warmed up and just put a little bead of glue in between and make some sandwiches. Now I made the first little sandwich here, and you can see that some of the edge of the foam core is a little bit rough from just where I cut it with my exacto knife. Now this doesn't really bother me because my products are really colorful, so when I have a white display, little tiny imperfections like that don't necessarily show so much, so you could just ignore it if you like. You could also paint this whole unit, of course, any color you want, but I also recommend using a little piece of washi tape. You could get something in a pattern or a solid, and you can put the tape over the edge to hide the fact that these are sandwiched if that bothers you for any reason. I think it's less of a thing about more if it's bothering you and more if you just want to make it cute or decorate it more. There's lots of things you could do, but I would recommend maybe like a tape, a decorative tape to cover over the edges of this piece if you felt like doing that. I'm not going to, but you are welcome to. All right, now I have made a pile of sandwich pieces here. So it's just a matter of arranging them on this board and gluing them down. So as you can see, this is not a very complicated project, but it's just about getting the measurements right. So the way that I'm gonna lay this out is I have all these 3.5 inch pieces here, and I'm just gonna put a 1/2 inch gap in between them. I have this real skinny one for the bottom, just to go down there. And then I got this one for the top as well, a little bit thicker. So that's basically the spacing, but I'm gonna start at one end and then just keep kind of spacing them out so that they're even. And when we're done, I just have a little example of one of my little cards here. They're gonna sit like that. This isn't glued down, but like sit like that in the holder. Okay, you understand what I'm doing. I'm just gonna keep gluing. All right, well that does it for gluing the top pieces. So now we have this board. You can see it looks kind of like that. Maybe I didn't line these up perfectly, but that's okay. No one's looking at it from the side. I think it actually looks quite sleek, very clean and tidy, and a good cutting job. Taking your time with cutting the pieces makes a big difference when you do that. So I'm just going to hold this up at an angle to demonstrate a little bit. Just got a couple of backing cards here. So when you put them in here, they're just going to stand up real nice, and you can see your product clearly. The height of your card and the size of everything will determine how far you want these little pieces to be. So I did 3.5 inches, and you know, if they did them front to back, they're not covering each other when they're on display like that. But you could definitely fit more in. You could make a bigger piece overall. Very customizable. And also if you have heavier pieces that maybe you're weighing down, you might want to add another layer to these pieces, or slide them back to make them gradiated, like on a so that the sandwich is slightly tilted back. I hope that makes sense. But you know, I would really recommend that if you're not confident about how this is going to work out for your products, to start by maybe get 2 pieces of foam core, get an extra piece for mistakes. But you can just use some painter's tape. I actually have this and did this beforehand. And you can tape it together before you glue it to make sure everything fits the way you like it. This painter's tape is real easy to take off, and it's not going to damage your foam core. So yeah, that's basically it. Now we're just going to put the bottom on, and she's done. Not too hard, eh? Now these are the 2 bottom pieces that we're going to just triangle together with this piece to make the whole stand. Something you might want to think about at this point is whether you want to be able to pack this flat for traveling, in which case you might not want to glue it at all and just get some white painter's tape like this and be able to assemble it on the spot. You can also definitely tape it or glue it together so that it's permanently fixed like this, but it's a good option if you want to just tape it. I think because I have a very small car when I go to shows, so I want to be able to fit everything in very compactly, I'm going to tape the base together, but like I said, feel free to glue it, or if you're using a sturdier material, you could use like a wood glue, anything you like. We're going to start with the front edge here, and I apologize because I can't really get the camera further back. It's on a mount that doesn't go back any further. But basically, this is the bottom piece, and here's the top one with our three layers, yep, sandwiched together. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to lay this flat together, so sandwiching it together with the rest of the pieces. making this bottom edge of the display, bottom edge of this display flush. And I'm just going to put a piece of painter's tape along this so that it can become like a hinge, and the tape is going to hinge it together. I'm just going to use some scissors here with my painter's tape to make sure their edges are real clean. And I've got a piece that's almost the same length as the project. There we go. All right, that was a little difficult to do with one hand under the camera, so I just did it off screen, but there is a piece of tape now hinging these two pieces together. I'll show you here. So it's just like that. These will stand on their own now because that piece of tape is there acting like a hinge. So now there's just the back edge, and we can basically just do the same thing with this third piece and make, you know, two hinges there. And when I want to store it, I would just take one of those pieces of tape off, flop it all down, and reassemble it at the show. I don't mind having a little 2-minute assembly job for the sake of keeping a display super flat like this to travel. So I'm just going to finish taping up the edges. I hope that's not too confusing. I apologize I can't show you it in more detail just because it's white tape on white foam core makes it a little difficult to see. But I'll put it together and then I'll show you it a little bit zoomed out, not on the workspace, and hopefully it all makes sense. So here is the finished design. This is it from the side on. So we have this nice triangle shape. It's quite sturdy and it's just taped together right now. So if you wanted to glue it, like I said, you certainly can. But if you want to use just a white painter's tape like this, it will make it easier for transport if that is a concern for you. And you can also make this out of sturdier materials too, but I think it holds up pretty well. And so let me pop some backing cards in here to show you what it looks like. There, I only had 6 on hand, but that's basically what it looks like with the product in there. And I think it's nicely spaced out. Like I'm just standing up looking at this and I can see the full product of each one. Actually, let me show you. That's standing at about adult height. I'm 5'7", and that's kind of the angle from which I'm seeing this. So you can see the full card basically and see the pin that's going to be on each one. Well, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I love making little projects like this to save money for new art businesses or new creative businesses. I know that fixtures are so hard to find, first of all. They're often very expensive. They can be heavy and difficult to set up. So I find it really important to come up with solutions that are easy to create at home, don't cost very much, and are great to prototype things. Because if you're anything like me, I have set up my booth design a million times and I'm always redesigning it every couple of months. So being able to craft a little display like this based on my particular needs or product offerings at the time is really helpful. So I hope it's helpful for you too. If there are other types of products that you would like me to kind of figure out some DIY display solutions for, just let me know what they are. As I've mentioned, I already did one for art prints or greeting cards that is out of the same material, which I will link somewhere. And please do check out my other videos if you're interested in learning more from me. I do DIY tutorials, but also like studio vlogs and just about running my art business and my creative life. So lots of more content about that. Please do subscribe too if you enjoy hanging out. I hope you did. All right, any questions about this project, leave them in the comments. I will do my best to answer in a timely fashion. I hope you have a lovely day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.